I'm not gonna lie to you guys right now, Shinbi isn't that great. Yes, she got a buff, but giving everyone stasis gem makes her ultimate pretty useless. It's not like you can't see when it's coming, because out of all the ultimates, it's probably one of the most obvious. Having said that, I still find myself doing work on Shinbi. She isn't terrible, she's not top tier, she's still somewhat viable, and the fact that people you play against might not run stasis makes her a perfectly viable choice. You just have to make the right decision of when to pick her. As always, I'll start with my build for Shinbi and then give you my guide. I feel like it's quite important when it comes to Shinbi because she isn't one of the easiest heroes to play. I start with the Archmagus as my prime card, a health potion, a hunter's drink and 2 shaman's drink, as well as my healer token. Then we have a guardian's ward, which is our dummy ward, followed by an adamant edge with 3 casts. We then have 2 adamant edges with 3 minor casts in both. I like the adamant edges because of the extra health, especially in the offlane it can be a bit difficult to stay alive. We then have my Magna lens with 3 minor shocks for some early game ability penetration, our late game Magna lens with 2 focus shocks and a concentrated shock. We then have our Sage's Ward with 3 major casts, Quenching Scales with 3 lesser health for some survivability, a Teleblink so we can, engage or disengage, a Stasis Gem because, Stasis Gems are great, and I throw 3 major casts into this. The build I use, I believe I adapted from Beast Certified. I can't remember if it's exactly the same, but I think I adapted it. He is a great Shinbi player, so definitely check his Twitch out, a link is in the description below. Here's the build order I follow, but I will say that I get my Teleblink when I need it, and my Shaman's Drink when I have spare points. So for example, if I'm backing in the offlane with 2 points to spend, I'll just grab both Shaman's Drinks. I'll also take Teleblink really early after my Adamant Edges and maybe my 6-point Magna Lens so that I can bully the enemy carry. So use this as a template, but it's not set in stone. You want to start with your Guardian's Ward, throw that somewhere as a dummy ward, grab your health potion and healer token, followed by your 3 early adamant edges. We only sell the 6-point ones, so you can place these in active slots and the 9 cost in a passive slot. I'll then grab my Magna lens and my wards. Remember to get your wards when you need them. If there's a Kalari, get them early. I usually take wards pretty late on Shinbi because of her double dash. I then like to grab Quenching as this can often turn the tide in a 1v1 fight. Next I'll grab Stasis and finish off my build. You can check the link down below for a more in-depth look. Shinbi is a difficult hero to say the least. For starters, her ultimate requires you to actually hit abilities. Unlike auto-lock heroes such as Morogesh, you actually have to use some skill to hit your abilities, and by abilities, I mostly mean your wolves. The way Shinbi's ultimate works is that anytime you deal damage with an ability, you'll be adding a stack to your ultimate on that enemy hero. When you believe you have enough stacks, you can use your ultimate to deal damage. The stacks cap at 8, so once you're there, you should just ult if you believe it's worth it. Remember that stacks only last for 10 seconds, and once the time is up, they reset. If you do land an ability on that same hero, you will however reset the 10-second timer, giving you more time to build more stacks. I just want to point out that your dash can actually give you 2 stacks. If you dash into the enemy and then dash back through them, you'll actually get 2 stacks. This guide is going to be slightly different in that I'm going to analyze some specific moments in time. Let's start at 13 minutes. I have a pretty decent wave with a siege and ranged minion. I'm about to kill the enemy siege minion and then rotate, but look at my wave. I will have a double wave pushing towards the enemy tier 2 because I know that their next wave is not a siege, since I just killed a siege wave and my current wave is a siege wave. I know that this wave is going to build up and push into the enemy's tier 2. Now roughly 2 minutes later, the wave is crashing into their tier 2. You can of course set the wave to push faster or even slower depending on what you and your team need. I now rotate over to mid lane because I know they have to deal with that tier 2, and Shinbi's structure damage sucks, which means I cannot take that tower this early on in the game, so we have to go and fight. Unfortunately for us, our Seraph gets caught out, but we managed to get 2 kills. In an ideal world, your team would wait for you to be in the fight and then for the enemy to show on the left tier 2, or engage them 5v5 so that they can knock back, which would result in a free tier 2 at 15 minutes, which is pretty good. At 16 minutes, the enemy team are in my jungle, those cheeky fuckers, so what are we gonna do? Punish them as 5. It's important to note that the only reason I group up with my team here is that 1, I'm pretty certain it's going to result in kills for us, and 2, and this is probably the more valid point, my lane isn't getting pressured. By that I mean the wave isn't near my tier 2, but it is pushing towards it. So consciously I'm trying to force something here so I don't waste time and that wave doesn't crash into my tier 2. I was on comms with my team, so I can tell them something like, hey guys, wave's going to crash into my tower, so let's force an engagement now or I'll have to rotate. Obviously in solo queue this is a bit more difficult, but you should be thinking along those lines. We get 2 kills, I recall and then head back to left with my lane perfectly fine. 18 minutes in now and I'm about to recall soon, but you can see I've set my wave again and this will slowly push into the enemy's tier 2. The reason I've set it to push slowly into the enemy's tier 2 is that look at when raptors are coming up. They're coming up shortly, but not right now. So we want the wave to push so that when the raptors are up, it hits the tier 2 or is close to hitting it. Too early and then they can de-push and rotate, or too late and well, it's kind of pointless. The beauty here is that Morigesh is terrible at pushing waves, so I leave her with a big wave which she knows that she has to deal with or it will take a tier 2, hence why she is over there. But it allows my team to take raptors 4v5 and I even managed to take out their carry, which is a huge bonus. If you haven't picked up already, the key here, and not just for Shinbi, is lane and wave management. It's very easy to apply pressure while you're in a lane, but how well are you applying pressure in your lane when you're not there? I'm not even in my lane, but the way I've set the wave is forcing someone to rotate over to deal with it, creating more opportunities for my team. This is why against better teams you'll feel caged in, like there's very little space on the map to move. The map size doesn't change, but the amount of pressure does. The more pressure being applied, the less space you feel there is. I recommend checking out my how to offlane video for a more beginner's look. I think this will definitely help. Shinbi is a fragile girl. She gets in, does a lot of damage and then gets the fuck out. So as the enemy team are doing orb, Hollow lands a great colossal blow and root on the enemy carry and support. Notice, in this situation, I guarantee 9 out of 10 people would have double dashed towards the enemy duo here. That would have been a huge mistake because then you wouldn't have your second dash to escape, which again I took note of. I knew Gideon was up, so I had to have my dash ready to escape from his ultimate. We end up getting 3 kills and get out alive. You don't need to go ham and clean up in this situation. Our carry was dead and all we needed to do was deny the enemy from getting orb, which we did. Now we can just back off and go elsewhere. Also, remember that when you use Shinbi's dash, the first dash starts the cooldown. So whenever you use the second dash, it won't affect your cooldown of the actual ability. This part is from another video, but since it's about Shinbi, I felt it's relevant to showcase here. With all prime being up, you don't want to stray too far from it, as showing on the other side of the map could very well be a free orb for the enemy team. So once I grab the invis buff, I look for an engagement. I would instantly go on Revenant, but he ults, so the next best is phase. Hollow lands a great ult and we attempt to finish her off, but the blind lets her live. Also she thinks, as I use my ultimate to finish her off. Now I'm looking for the enemy carry. As an offlaner, you want to be engaging the enemy carry, especially on a hero like Feng or Shinbi. I don't really find the opportunity as of yet, but you can bet that the next team fight I'm looking for him, and that's exactly what happens. As their Sevrong engages, there is now no peel for Revenant as FaZe is dead, so he has to blink to get out, but we can easily finish him off, and with the carry dead, we have a huge advantage. I hope you enjoyed this building guide for Shinbi. I tried to talk more about situations I faced, and I hope I answered some questions you may have or how you should be playing Shinbi. But if you still have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Smash that thumbs up button if you enjoyed, let me know who you want to see next, and subscribe for all the latest Paragon content. Until next time guys, peace.